The bill I'm about to sign is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. It's about delivering progress and prosperity to American families.
The Inflation Reduction Act was the largest investment in clean energy in the history of the world.
The Inflation Reduction Act is going to rapidly accelerate our pathway to net zero.
A sweeping piece of legislation that is designed to decarbonize the U.S. economy, to reshore supply chains, and also to break dependence on China.
It levels the playing field for Western producers.
It's the largest investment in the history of the United States solar industry of any kind.
The so-called Paris Climate Accord. It's a disaster, a death sentence.
It's possible that you could see in 2024 a re-election of Donald Trump. And at that point, I think all bets would be off.
The big question is whether this ends up being a trade war.
We thought we were in the era of free market globalization, and now we're not.
The Inflation Reduction Act is actually a very misleading name, right? Because it has very little to do with inflation reduction, particularly in the short term.
It's a piece of industrial policy. It's a piece of climate policy. It's a piece of trade policy. It's not a piece of inflation reduction.
It's full of tax credits designed to draw in investment into the U.S. economy, and it's all being funded by the federal government over the next 10 years.
The IRA includes $370 billion worth of tax credits, loans, and grants to incentivize domestic manufacturing.
The Biden administration says, you know what? It is important that America makes things. It is important not only that we transition to a greener economy, but it's important to be able to secure supply chains. This is a big shift. This is about a 50-year change in how the economy is going to run.
Is this actually going to create long-term viable industries which are more competitive than the Chinese? We have to face the risk that it won't work. And when the subsidies stop, unless they're there forever, the program won't really work. And some of these may turn out to be white elephants.
I'm John Podesta. I am overseeing the implementation of the clean energy provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. The largest investment in clean energy and attacking the problem of climate change in the history of the world.
The impact on emissions of the IRA are expected to be about 40% cut by 2032 if all the tax credits are taken out.
At the heart of it was an economic theory. Invest in American technology and manufacturing, power the economy, reduce the dependency the United States had on unreliable single-source suppliers of certain goods and materials.
The CHIPS and Science Act passed first. It's a much smaller industrial policy. It includes around $52 billion to incentivize research in semiconductors as well as stimulate semiconductor production in the United States.
It's really, in a way, a partner bit of legislation. It's also about reshoring supply chains.
According to FT research, the IRA and the CHIPS Act together have helped stimulate more than $220 billion in manufacturing and clean technologies and semiconductors. This will create more than 100,000 jobs.
It's clearly designed to tell the world that America is back as a major player in world industry and in the climate fight. Sleepy old America's gone.